Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a horrific tragedy. A humanitarian disaster that will surely incur terrible costs. But the most alarming aspect of the war may be the level of support that Putin has won in the West. Much of it from unexpected quarters. Large numbers have swallowed wholesale Putin's transparent lies that Ukraine is a hotbed of Nazism, that they are an existential threat to Russia, consumed with nationalism, that they are committing genocide against Russian citizens, and that any overtures to NATO are a direct threat to Russian security. In reality, these are all transparent pretexts, designed to mask Putin's real intent. It's true that the Azov Battalion, a militia active in eastern Ukraine, have been connected to Nazi ideology. But this group boasts just 900 members. To suggest that they are representative of 45 million Ukrainians is a monstrous lie. And there's certainly zero truth in Putin's claim that Ukraine is run by neo-Nazi thugs who were put in place by the West for the sole purpose of agitating against Russia. In reality, neo-Nazis gained under 2% of the vote in Ukraine's last election, and they hold no seats in parliament. More than this, Vladimir Zelensky, Ukraine's president, is Jewish, and relatives of his were killed in the Holocaust. Putin's claims would be laughable if they weren't so repellent. After all, there are distasteful sectarian groups active in America as well. Neo-Nazis, the violent wing of BLM, Antifa. They have looted, burned cities, destroyed art, rioted, and killed dozens of people. There are far more than 900 members of Antifa. But would their existence justify an invasion of America? Could anyone reasonably advocate the bombing of Washington and Florida because of the presence of Antifa in Portland and Seattle? That Biden's government should be overthrown because he dismissed Antifa as an idea? It would be a ludicrous suggestion, one immediately dismissed by those who give weight to Putin's similar proclamations. Yes, there's been sectarian strife in eastern Ukraine, but the Russian separatists there are largely Kremlin proxies. And regardless, the friction there does not warrant a full-scale war. Any accusations of genocide are another brazen lie. As for Putin's allegations of nationalism, well, of course there's nationalism there. Ukraine's a nation. And as a nation, it should be free to ally with whomever it chooses. And what does Putin expect? Nationalism will inevitably rise in a state threatened by a much larger, more powerful and aggressive neighbour. One that's already committed a horrific genocide against them. Putin has provoked the very nationalism he now rails against. It's also ironic for Putin to make such slurs against Ukraine when he's primarily motivated by nationalism himself. For the genuine motive behind Putin's invasion is the emulation of his hero, Tsar Peter the Great. Peter had sought to make Russia a great European power, and it's no coincidence that his most critical victories were won in Ukraine. It's not NATO or Ukraine who has provoked this war. It's purely Putin. And he's been emboldened by the weakness he detected in the West. He rightly discerned that they had no appetite for war, that he could engage his thirst for power and territory with minimum response. He's shown this before when invading Georgia and Crimea. He's showing it now in threatening Sweden and Finland. The man who always seemed a shrewd political operator appears to have become unhinged. A century ago, another despotic tyrant called Vladimir, better known as Lenin, spoke of the useful idiots who propagated his cause in the West. Fast forward to today, and it's deeply regrettable that many have become similar apologists for his rapacious successor. And I say all of this as a deep admirer of Russia. I've long been obsessed with Russian art, music, literature, culture, and architecture. I've studied the history of Russia more than anywhere else, and I've been deeply moved by how the people of that vast land have endured the endless suffering heaped upon them. They're suffering again now, even as many of them are coerced into inflicting even greater suffering on the Ukrainians by a warmongering tyrant. Those who have offered defences and excuses for Putin might wish to give pause. Reciting the almost entirely baseless propaganda of an aggressive and unhinged despot is not a critical position. It's akin to believing Blair and Bush's lies about weapons of mass destruction. And who would sensibly cleave to that position now? The war in Ukraine is dangerous, not just for the Ukrainians, but for all of us. We need to be united in the face of this danger. And those who seek to divide or weaken the home front simply aid the expansionist dream of a devious and decidedly dark individual. Please, subject Putin's claim to the same scepticism and scrutiny that you do to those of Western governments, because his pretexts are the most brazen fabrications and exaggerations, and his genuine ambition and bloodlust appears endless. If you want to support this channel, please like, subscribe, and think about buying my books. They're called The Tyranny of the Left, and they're available on the links below. Please feel free to pick them up and let me know what you think. Thank you.